So the music tells you that it's time to talk some football in the UEFA Champions League. The quarterfinal second legs were completed earlier on Wednesday. In Spain, Real Madrid, with the odds against them, were looking to overturn a 3-0 deficit from the first leg when they hosted English Premier League club Arsenal at the Santiago Bernabeu. Let's see how that played out.
And still pushed away by Courtois.
I think already we've seen who the danger man's going to be for Arsenal. What the game's being held up for here
is...
Was it the possible challenge? Oh, I was going to say, has this gone over the line when Courtois took it?
No, I think it's for that from Raul Asensio.
He's a long way away from that ball, I know. But having seen it, he might give this.
Yeah, it's a penalty to Arsenal. And it's saved!
Oh. But watch, he tries to dig that almost over the top of him.
And that'll be a goal kick.
Oh, given a penalty.
Given a penalty. Mbappe went over. Declan Rice is absolutely astonished by this decision.
They're now obviously, Steve, coming back to the fact, was it enough contact from Declan Rice?
Here we go. No penalty.
I think there's plenty more to come.
Mbappe dipping. Odegaard. Rice. Marino into Saka, brilliantly done! And Bukayo Saka has surely chipped Arsenal into the Champions League semi-final.
Patience, and then a brilliant ball. A brilliant ball to put Bukayo Saka in. Oh, again, that offside's going to be checked.
It is.
That's going to be a tight call.
That is going to be a tight call. It is Saka who received it.
And from here, Steve, their football's great. Look, it's patient. Odegaard finds Declan Rice. He then again just drops it off. And then watch the run from Saka here. That is onside. He's good.
Yeah. The finishing line is in sight for Arsenal here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Saliba has lost it and Real Madrid are back in the game. Vinicius Junior, Real Madrid's first goal of the tie.
What's he thinking there? He's not even checked his shoulder. As David Raya rolls this ball, he doesn't even know that Vinny Junior is there. Brilliant play.
Kivior. Martinelli's making a storming run. Frank Garcia can't catch him. Martinelli! They deserve it.
Performance tonight. Last week was brilliant. I love this. It's a great goal. Taking their time. They know the game's done. They could just keep the ball there. Time to perfection. Frank Garcia's never catching. Martinelli, I think to a man, they've been pretty faultless.
The historical kings of European football are out. Real Madrid are beaten comprehensively by Mikel Arteta's Arsenal.
Well, the commentator said it. Historical giants of the UEFA Champions League, 15-time champions, Real Madrid out of the tournament. And I got a stat that Leger Williams, I'm pretty certain, will confirm just now. Is it true that in spite of Real Madrid's colossal standing in UEFA Champions League football, they've never beaten Arsenal in the UEFA Champions League?
No, they haven't. In 2005, 06.
And that's not because Arsenal doesn't go there regularly?
No, because I mean that's what people would say. but in the time that since we've played Real Madrid, since Arsenal have played Real Madrid the last time, Arsenal have faced Bayern Munich 10 times in the Champions League.
Okay.
So it's just the luck of the draw, really.
Okay, but there has to be something to be said though about the efficiency in which Arsenal eliminated Real Madrid from this tournament. and I won't just say Real Madrid, I say the much feared Real Madrid, because everybody fears Real Madrid when we start talking about football in Europe.
Yeah, Sir Lance, you're right. And in all honesty, Sir Lance, I've been speaking a lot all day. I've been shouting a lot as well during the game, and I'm about to break one of the studio rules. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mr. Edwards, but I'm so parched. I need a little drink. Thankfully, I brought a coaster, so there's something to put the drink on. I brought the coaster. I brought the beverage as well. Just take a little sip before I carry on.
Yeah. All right, so you're ready.
That's refreshing.
Okay, so you're ready to talk now about what was good about Arsenal in this two-way tie.
Yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready now, and I think that football, you know, there's something I wanted to say after the game, because there's many people who look at football a certain way, especially with the way in which modern coaches go about it, you know, having things everything is just attention to detail. They're saying that the freedom of expression is taken out of football, and I've always disagreed with that sentiment. And now two coaches came up. One of the coaches who is a historian of the game, someone who plays football very freely, allows his world-class talents to shine in Carlo Ancelotti, and has done so to devastating effect in the past. And he came up against a younger coach, a coach who was under the best coach of all time, Pep Guardiola, who has been cited as that person who would have made the football boring. And I've always been of the school of thought that if you're a detail-orientated person, that's always going to trump someone who is, or it's supposed to trump someone who is doing things on the fly. And what you saw in this Real Madrid versus Arsenal tie in both legs is that details won in the end. In the first leg, it was Arsenal controlling the game. It was Arsenal being tactically astute in and out of possession, especially in possession, in how they basically toyed around with Real Madrid at times in that 3-0 win. But we all knew that when they went to the Bernabeu, it wasn't going to be the same thing. It wasn't going to be Real Madrid just laying down and allowing Arsenal to play their football. Arsenal had to go there and take it. And they definitely did take it and played some wonderful football, not only from an offensive sense. We saw the first goal that they would have scored, that Saka goal. Everything that Mikel Arteta would have planned pre-game was executed at a high level there. The goal kick, and people like to speak about the tactics and when people say tactics, I always like to think about the 3-2-5 and this here and this there. Tactics are anything that allows you to get an advantage in any facet of life, but in football, any facet of the game. Raya played that goal kick long towards Mikel Merino. This is simple stuff. Football, even though it's a complex game, is a very simple one. Mikel Merino last season had the highest aerial dual win rate and dual win rate in world football, in European football. Raya, good ball playing goalkeeper, directly to Merino. Look where Saka is positioned, always looking to run in behind. It was the same when he was on the left. Martinelli always ready to run in behind. Win the second ball. Saka won that second ball, and then it's just all about patience. Madrid are all over the place. Odegaard, Arsenal's conductor. Rice, moving into that central space, Madrid are standing around. We'll get on to what Madrid didn't do well. But these are simple, effective ways of playing football, and people might say that this isn't tactics, this isn't anything intricate. But this is very intricate because the execution of it needed to be for Arsenal to score that goal.
I just want you to clarify something quickly, Lish, because a couple of minutes ago in your narrative, you said something that sounded as if you were saying that the great Ancelotti just does things on the fly, whereas Arteta is strategic.
Well, I'll say that...
Because you'd have to explain that, because Ancelotti is regarded as one of the best coaches in the history of the game.
And he is. But when I say he does things on the fly, if you listen to former players of his speak, because he's from an older school of thinking. Yes, Ancelotti does set up his teams a specific way, but once they get to the final third, if you hear any of their attackers speak, any old Ancelotti attackers speak, it's all about freedom from there on. You're not going to see For example, if you were to juxtapose it with a Mikel Arteta team, he believes in positional play. You're always going to see the two wingers as wide as possible. Often you will see the other three players occupying the last line of defense. You're always going to see very strict, rigid things. Ancelotti doesn't believe in that school of thought when it comes on to analyzing and playing football. But when you come up against a coach that is so detail-orientated, and I'm not saying this in only praising Mikel Arteta, because we've seen Ancelotti be outcoached in the past by other very astute coaches such as Pep Guardiola, because Man City and Real Madrid have had a big rivalry in the Champions League. Man City have won sometimes, Real Madrid have won sometimes, but a lot of the times that we can all honestly say Madrid have won those games because they had the superior individual talent and belief. The job and role of a coach is to prepare a team to win in any way possible. And they usually do that in three ways: tactically, physically, and mentally. Tactically, I don't think Ancelotti, I'm not going to say he doesn't hold a candle to the newer age coaches, but I think he was outclassed tactically in this tie with Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. He was outclassed mentally as well, because ahead of the game, all the Real Madrid players were saying, remontada this, remontada that, we have 90 minutes left to play, Real Madrid, they do this. Arsenal didn't get involved in any of those mind games. And physically, Arsenal were primed to not only do all of the work offensively, but defensively, because Arsenal are one of, if not the best defensive team in world football, they were primed to physically take on Real Madrid as well. And they did all of those things excellently, and that's why they won the tie so convincingly.
All right, so let me ask you this now. Of course, Rice had an outstanding game in the first leg, 2 incredible free kicks, but he also played well in this game.
Man of the match.
Without scoring.
Yeah.
Talk to him about his play and how it impacted on Arsenal's offense and defense as well, and managed to control the game from midfield.
Well, Declan Rice is, quite simply put, one of the best midfielders in world football. There are very few midfielders in the history of the game that impacts the game that consistently, defensively, and can also be a threat offensively. And he proved that again today against Real Madrid, who had a myriad of world-class midfielders amongst their ranks over both of the legs. When you speak about Luka Modric, one of the best midfielders of all time, point blank, a top 5 midfielder. Chouameni was in there, Camavinga was in there, Valverde, who is also one of the current best midfielders in the world. They were all in there, and Declan Rice is just a supreme athlete first of all, but his brain and his willingness to do the dirty work while also still being involved offensively is a big deal, and he was superb. And Arsenal, I think they might have gotten a steal by only getting him for £100 million.
You can have another sip of your Arsenal, and you can leave it there. It's your time.
No problem.
You can leave it right there, because we're finished talking about Arsenal now.
No problem.
So you're going to talk to us now about the other tie over in Italy, Inter Milan with a 2-1 advantage from the first leg. Welcome Bayern Munich to the San Siro, and got the result they needed, even though they didn't win.
Yeah, and I think that everything that I was just saying about Mikel Arteta and Arsenal is true about Inter Milan and Simone Inzaghi. I think they're 2 top 5 coaches in world football, and I'm not saying that only because of what they win or don't win. How they set up their teams on a week-to-week basis, on a season-to-season basis, they have been one of the best teams in world football. If you go back to when Manchester City beat them in the Champions League final, that's one of the few times I've seen Pep Guardiola genuinely be out-coached on such a big stage. I've seen it with Thomas Tuchel as well in a Champions League final, but Man City got that win in the end. But Simone Inzaghi and this Inter team, they're absolutely fantastic. Also one of the best defensive teams in the world, and they cover all 5 phases of play brilliantly. Scoring from a set piece there, also scoring from another set piece there, but their in-possession play, not only in settled possession but also on the transition, is deadly. Their defensive play in settled defense and transition defense, especially because they play a 3-at-the-back system, is also fantastic. Inter Milan are point blank, and maybe the Serie A goes under the radar, and I'm not sure if our dear friend Philip Riley is watching this. I know he's a big fan of the Serie A and Juventus in particular, but he knows how good of a team Inter Milan are and have been, and they proved that again against Bayern Munich, who put up a very good fight and possibly could have brought the game to extra time, But Inter Milan are very, very deserved semi-finalists in this competition.
Yeah, can we talk quickly as we wrap the segment on the semi-final matchups? Arsenal against PSG and Barcelona taking on Inter, so covering, you know, different countries in Europe, which is good to see. Italy, England, France and Spain being involved, top European football leagues. Inter actually leading Serie A at the moment, I think by just 3 points over Napoli, who are making them work hard for the title. But your look ahead to the semi-final matchups.
Well, first of all, Barcelona, Inter Milan, that's a fantastic matchup in terms of a clash of styles. Inter Milan and how rigid they are, how structured they are defensively, especially against a free-flowing Barcelona team. I think that matchup between Flick and Inzaghi, it's going to be a great tactical one. So too over on the other side of the bracket with Arsenal and PSG. We already got a taste of it when they met in the group stages or the first round of the Champions League. Arsenal won that tie, and a lot of that was due to just some small tactical tweaks that were made. But Enrique, and I think all in all, out of the 4 teams that are in the semi-final, if we're going to speak about the 5 best managers active in world football, there are 4 of the 5 in there. All 4 of them plus Pep would be my 5.
Wow,
that's just an indictment of how coaching usually gets the better. Good coaching usually gets the better of things, and I'm looking forward to them. There's some mouth-watering matches.
Yeah, well, we have time to put you on the spot for your predictions for those 2 games, so we'll give you some time to deal with that because we're out of time for today. So we wouldn't put you on the spot today, but I know you're hoping that Arsenal will go all the way. So thanks, Lish, and congrats on Arsenal's success today, and all the best in the semis and the final if they get there. And you can take your Arsenal stuff with you as we wrap the segment. We'll be back
I have more to bring, don't worry.
We'll be back with more on The Zone after this.